Hello everyone and welcome back to the Football Psych YouTube channel. Before I start today's video, why don't you go and give the video a like, subscribe if you're new around here, and why not click the notification bell while you're at it? Be rude not to. Also make sure you check my Instagram, which is at the Football Psych, so you can take part in polls and take a look behind the scenes. Right, now that's done, let's talk about football. So what do you know about attributions? In simple terms, attributions are the way in which people explain the causes for behaviour and events. So an example in football would be my team lost a game, and it would be then how I attribute the failure. So what factor I attribute the failure to? Would it be the pitch, the ref, the weather, my performance, the team's performance, the opposition's performance? And these can be divided into two subcategories: dispositional and situational. Dispositional attribution assigns the cause of behaviour to internal characteristics rather than external forces. So taking that game of football which I lost as an example, I would attribute the failure to my own performance, something I'm very much in control of and in power of, rather than the pitch or the referee, which is external to me and which I simply can't control. Situational attributions, on the other hand, assign the cause of behaviour to external forces rather than an internal characteristic. So once again, if my team lost a match, I would attribute the failure to the referee and his bad decisions rather than my own performance. In other words, attributing something which is out of your control. There is a very famous study conducted by Lau and Russell in the 1980s where they went to Australia and looked at junior elite football players and their coaches and the way they attributed success and failure in their post-match interviews. The results found that when the team won, the coach would credit the team's performance as the most determining factor in the outcome. However, when they lost, he sought to explore external factors as a means to attribute the failure to, so the pitch and the referee, instead of his team's own performance, almost deflecting the blame off of his team and himself. Now, this is a very interesting finding. Is it just the emotion spilling out of a coach and therefore the bias on show in a post-match interview? Or is it a tactic employed in order to protect the team, not allowing blame to creep in and therefore maintaining the team dynamic and the positive morale within the camp? Well, this is actually called self-serving bias, a process that is used to maintain esteem or morale or the tendency to perceive oneself or the team in a favourable manner. Now, there's some real life examples of these in elite sport. Jose Mourinho is the king of self-serving bias. Almost changed the game back in 2003 when he came to manage Chelsea in the Premier League. Now, he's known as the master of deflecting media attention when things aren't going well. So say they lose 3-0 and the team itself doesn't play well and there's individuals that have really poor performances within that. He'd normally look to attribute the failure or the poor performance to external factors rather than his tactics or his decisions, substitutions, or the team and the way they played or carried out the game plan. Now, this is very interesting because he's known as doing it so well, deflecting that spotlight off his team when things aren't going well. However, when things are going well, he's quick to take the praise and the plaudits and, praise his team. Now, Jose is not the only one. There's a lot of coaches who use self-serving bias as a means to protect their players. In a season, the media can be really harsh and quick to judge, especially right after a game. So I think it's important for managers to take the attention away from their team. And although they probably always don't believe what they're saying is true, blaming the pitch condition or the referee or a penalty incident, but for that split second, it just takes the spotlight off their team and allows them to maybe regroup and really process the way in which they lost instead of having to face the media right after a game. But this just shows you that psychological theories and understandings are adopted by the most elite names in football. It could be argued that this approach is limited by coaches. I was listening to the High Performance podcast recently. If you haven't already, go check it out. I'll leave a link in the description below, where they were discussing 100% responsibility. Now, by adopting self-serving bias, coaches are without a doubt not taking full responsibility or accountability. Would a coach earn more respect off his players if he held his hands up and admitted that he got his tactics wrong or didn't bring a the correct sub on at the right time? Would his players buy into that more instead of almost being comforted and the responsibility being deflected for them at some times? I think maybe it'd be more beneficial to them to maybe be accountable for their actions and their performances. The mind games in elite sport are endless, but maybe a bit of old-fashioned tough love and accountability may be more appreciated by the team. Of course, behaviour in front of the cameras and behind the scenes is very different. So is someone like Jose playing the game and appearing to not take responsibility or blame his team, when in actual fact behind the scenes he's doing something completely different? On a personal note, talking about when I played football, not a very high level, but week in, week out is a massive part of my life. I think when I was younger, I didn't take accountability and responsibility. I'd attribute the team playing badly or me playing badly to other factors, whether it be a different pair of boots or superstitious things like that, or actually the rest of the team wasn't performing, or they weren't giving me the ball, or the ref was being harsh on me, or the pitch wasn't working in my favour. But later on in my career, when I got to about 17, 18, I think as I started to take more or closer to 100% responsibility and attributed the performance of the team, more importantly, to how I was playing and not blaming external factors, I feel like you're more in control of your actions. You know, you can come off the pitch and go, well, I know what I did today and I know the impact that had on the game, instead of trying to focus on the things you can't control. Because ultimately, what's the point? If you can't control the things that you feel are impacting on the game, then it's an endless fight, isn't it? You know, you're never gonna win. But if you actually look at yourself and look at what you did for the team and your own performance, then it's easier to take some responsibility, some accountability, be more honest with yourself, and therefore analyse the game in a simpler way. Let me know about your thoughts in the comments below. Were you aware of attributions? Have you learned anything about attributions today? Were you the type of player that blamed the referee and therefore external factors not in your control? Or could you internalise your performance and be really critical and self-evaluate? But that is going to be full time for this video. I hope you did enjoy it, and who knows, maybe you learned something as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
Been crying so much to the poltergeist, trying to hold on to love, but it's frosted.